I have been seeing a lot of bumper stickers on the backs of cars lately. Ready for Hillary 2016. I'm ready for Hillary 2016. So now you're fully ready for Hillary to take over?
So between the phony candidates and the outright criminals, you're just ready for more?
I don't understand how you could even put such a thing on your car and say that you're ready for this woman to be the president of the United States, unless you're just trying to tell the whole world that you've completely given up on the country and it's time to throw in the towel. Because there is nothing about this woman that should make you ready for her to do anything. And that means being a janitor in Capitol Hill. Nothing. The media has been complicit in giving Hillary Clinton what appears to be this golden free pass, because they just all seem to know that she's going to be president in 2016, and that's just how it is. So we might as well just show all the glowing, flowing, wonderful things she's ever done and paint her to be just the most magical thing that's about to step foot into the White House. And it's enough to make anyone gag. I've even seen the media trying to say that she's a Washington outsider who's going to change things.
Clinton also has the Washington outsider card to choose from, and she's pulled it on the stump before, as recently as last October.
Recently in Washington, unfortunately, we have seen examples of the wrong kind of leadership.
Are you kidding me? This is someone who was First Lady for 8 years, then she was a senator, then she was Secretary of State over a disastrous reign as Secretary of State. But even before that, back in the day, she was working at the Rose Law Firm, a prestigious Arkansas law firm that had clients like Tyson and Monsanto.
They may not know what they're eating already because the question of genetically modified food or hybrids has gone on for many, many years. And there is, again, a big gap between what the facts are and what the perceptions are. And what I have seen is, well, I stand in favor of using seeds and products that have a proven track record that you say, and I believe is scientifically provable.
And Walmart, who she later sat on the board of directors for and helped implement this influx of cheap Chinese goods into America that has completely destroyed our economy. This is a person, and she's the one who's all about NAFTA. She's all about CAFTA. She defines corporatism. I mean, she's the poster child of it. If you open the dictionary, her face is going to be in there. She will destroy this country, and people are ready for her. It's enough to make you sick. Especially women. I mean, women have even been interviewed, supporters, strong supporters over at the DNC, and they said, name one accomplishment Hillary Clinton had as Secretary of State.
You ready for Hillary?
I'm definitely ready for Hillary, sir.
What do you think her greatest accomplishment as Secretary of State was?
Oh my goodness. In particular, I honestly don't know to answer your question.
They couldn't name one. Hell, even the State Department's chief spokesperson couldn't name one thing that Hillary Clinton did right when she was Secretary of State.
Off the top of your head, can you identify one tangible achievement that the last QDDR resulted in?
Well, Matt, obviously it's an extensive, expansive
So
process.
no,
We're
right?
looking at how it was done last
Just
time.
one.
Well, as you know, I've only been here since it was concluded. So
Okay.
I'm sure there are a range of things that were put into place that I'm not even aware of were a result.
I won't hold my breath.
But you know what? I can name a bunch of things she did wrong, starting with the fact that she tried to tell everyone that the Benghazi situation was based on some ridiculous YouTube video. Remember that fraud?
I also want to take a moment to address the video circulating on the internet that has led to these protests. We've seen rage and violence directed at American embassies over an awful internet video that we had nothing to do with.
But then later, it just didn't really matter what happened, right? That just wasn't important. Later, when it came out that for over a year, the Benghazi consulate had been sending cables directly to Hillary Clinton, addressed to her, begging her for help, begging her for security, telling them that they did not have the requisite security. They were scared they were all going to die. In fact, a week before, they sent a maximum security alert. Maximum security, red alert. We're in danger. We might die. They did nothing. These reports were coming in as Chris Stevens was being drugged through the street, raped, beaten, and murdered, and they still did nothing about it. And what was her excuse?
What difference at all does it make? Misled that there were supposedly protests and then something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that. And that was easily ascertained that was not the fact. And the American people could have known that within days, and they didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
That's right. Heeding those warnings made no difference to her at all. It wasn't her problem. That was some security guy's department to look over that paperwork.
Officials were screaming out for more security.
You know, I do feel responsible. I feel responsible for the nearly 70,000 people who work for the State Department. I take it very seriously. The specific security requests pertaining to Benghazi, you know, were handled by the security professionals in the department. I didn't see those requests. They didn't come to me. I didn't approve them. I didn't deny them.
Those things never crossed her desk. So if you can see how she would handle that as Secretary of State, how do you think she's going to handle things as president? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know any of these things happened. That's a real Obama tactic, isn't it? In fact, Hillary Clinton's actually been called Obama in a dress.
I will never vote for Hillary Clinton. She's Barack Obama in a dress as far as I'm concerned.
These cables show it all. All you have to do is read them. The cables demonstrate the Obama administration knew there was an increasing threat, that it was an organized terrorist threat, the terrorists that they funded, that they put into power there. They knew that the consulate was a sitting duck. They knew that it had inadequate security that was well below protocol, and they just basically sat back and watched the show. But again, what difference at all does it make?
What difference at this point does it make?
And that's not to mention the fact that, oh, just as an aside, $6 billion went missing while she was Secretary of State. In fact, they didn't even have an Inspector General appointed during her entire tenure as Secretary of State. So there wasn't even anyone there in the position that would have held her accountable. But again, I'm sure that's just someone else's department, and those invoices never came across her desk, right? Because nothing ever came across her desk. Where was her desk anyway? Oh, that's right, her desk was right down the street from the CFR, which she also admits runs the country.
It's good to have an outpost of the council right here down the street from the State Department. We get a lot of advice from the council, so this will mean I won't have as far to go to be told what we should be doing.
But maybe you're thinking to yourself that Hillary Clinton is just all about the women's rights, so we got to get her in there because she's a female, and so she's all about women's rights, right? Wrong. Why don't you take a listen to this interview where she laughs about getting a 41-year-old rapist of a 12-year-old girl off on a technicality.
This guy was accused of raping a 12-year-old. I have his polygraph, which he passed, which forever destroyed my faith in polygraphs.
Obviously from this tape, she's laughing about the polygraph. She knows this guy was guilty. This was not a case she was forced to take because she had to. She volunteered to do it as a favor for a friend.
I do it as a favor to him.
And she knew she was going to get the guy off, laughing about the fact on the tape, obviously multiple times, that the botched handling of the chain of evidence, the chain of custody on this evidence of this guy's bloody semen-filled underwear was going to get him off for this crime, and she knew that. But did Hillary Clinton stop there knowing that she had this case in the bag? No. She decided to go above and beyond and straight up slut shame a 12-year-old girl. She went ahead and put in a court affidavit personally writing that she'd been informed the 12-year-old had a, quote, tendency to seek out older men and engage in fantasizing, and that the girl was emotionally unstable. And so she had to go and be above and beyond and try to make it look like a 12-year-old rape victim was a whore. Why did she do that? Because she just has to win at all costs. And what did she win, by the way? Well, she got someone she was pretty sure was a rapist off on a plea bargain, only having to serve a year. He got 2 months time served, so not even a year, instead of the 30 years to life in prison he should have got. Meaning, he got put back into society where he could do this again. But hey, at least Hillary Clinton won the case, and it was a real victory for women's rights everywhere.
Was able to plea bargain down the sentence to just 1 year in prison, which was then reduced to time served. But the victim, who is now 52 years old, is speaking out.
You lied on me, what you done to me. I said, and you're supposed to be it for women? You call that for women? What you done to me? And I heard you on tape laughing.
You can't even sit here and think to yourself, well, maybe because she came from Arkansas and humble beginnings that she's going to give a crap about you and you're struggling through the death of the middle class here in America and the fact that most of the top 10 jobs in this country are food service jobs, because she's just not going to think that way. In her opinion, she's dead broke if she has to borrow money to buy her second mansion.
We came out of the White House not only dead broke, but in debt. We struggled to, piece together the resources for mortgages for houses.
When I think of dead broke, I like to think about the fact that I have to stoop to the level of borrowing $1 million to buy my second mansion. That to me that's a desperate time. It's really bad, just on a side note, when Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, calls you out on being a liar.
Hillary, dead broke. Really?
Well, that may have not been the most artful way of saying.
The Clinton White House was literally for sale. These people rented out the Lincoln bedroom. Didn't she take all of the china and stuff when she left the White House? This is like as if our White House was on eBay. But worse than all of these things, can you even imagine the level of warmongering the foreign policy of a Hillary Clinton presidency is going to bring to this country? Let's just look at a couple of quick clips. First of all, you've got her basically admitting that releasing 5 terrorists in exchange for a deserter is making a deal with the devil that she would totally make.
Make a deal with the devil?
If you look at what the factors were going into the decision, of course there are competing interests.
5 guys not a threat to the USA. I think when people heard that, they were quite surprised.
Well, as long as they're in Qatar, they're not a threat to the United States.
Well, Bin Laden was never in the United States.
Because why? Because these guys aren't a threat. Hillary just knows. Okay, so they're not a threat. Don't worry about that. But even beyond that, when Libya fell to the rebels, the ones that we funded, the Al-Qaeda that we were funding, the ones that we've been fighting ever since 9/11 in this dubious war on terror. Now, we have to act as guilty until proven innocent every time we go to an airport so we can be radiated and molested, because we live in a country where terror could happen at any moment and we're fighting the terrorists because Al-Qaeda blew up the towers on 9/11, right? Those same Al-Qaeda are the ones that we funded in Libya that helped murder Gaddafi and bring him down. And whenever she found out he died, she laughed with sheer glee. Not just laughing because he was dead, sheer glee.
We came, we saw, he died. Did it have anything to do with your visit? No, I'm sure it did.
This man was drugged through the streets and lynched. And Hillary Clinton laughed about that. Even if that person is Hitler or some horrible nightmare person, I'm still not, as a human being, ever going to be able to bring myself to the level where I would laugh with sheer glee at someone else being lynched and murdered. It's disgusting. It's the kind of thing a psychopath does. Beyond that, there's even tape of her saying they're working real hard on World War III.
We ought to try every possible avenue we can to see if we can get them to correct their desire and goal of acquiring a nuclear weapon. Don't get it done the way the administration's working on it now, which I totally agree with, then we ought to take them out.
Secretary Clinton.
Well, we're working hard. We're working hard.
I said at the end of the day may be next year. It will be. It will be next year. It will be next year.
It's not like this is just the things that have been happening around Hillary Clinton lately. This woman's entire career, her entire adulthood, has been trailed by just a laundry list of unethical issues and scandals, and that's just all there is to it. Let's take it on back to when she was fired from her job as a staff attorney for the House Judiciary Committee during the Watergate investigation. Why was she fired? Well, let's see what her boss says. Because she was a liar, quote unquote. Because she was an unethical, dishonest lawyer, she conspired to violate the Constitution, the rules of the House, the rules of the committee, and the rules of confidentiality. She was removing court documents and hiding them from public view, and she was trying to advocate denying President Nixon representation. I mean, she was doing everything she could to win, and no respect whatsoever for the Constitution, which is the law of our land. That's all the way back then. You think she's learned her lesson? Give me a break. She was conspiring to do unconstitutional things all the way back in the day. And now this is someone that today we want to hand over the presidency to? The stuff that I've shown you today, that's all on record. That's not even the conspiracy theory stuff. If we started to get into that, this video would go on all day long because there's so much stuff following this woman around like a giant black cloud of doom. It is pathetic. The fact that anyone would vote for this woman only proves that propaganda on television works, or that critical thinking skills have gone extinct. You don't have to look very far to start finding the bad things in this woman's past. It doesn't even take more than 5 seconds. Beyond that, I don't know why we have to have these unofficial dynasties in this country. We've got the Bush family. They're just going to keep running at it for as long as they possibly can. And then you have the Clintons. Why are they still here? Please go away. I'm seeing headlines where it's like, we might have 10 more years of Clintons.
10 years, man. We can have 10 more years of the Clintons.
Unless we're going to openly admit that our government is nothing more than a front for mega corporations and corporate interests, and that it's nothing more than basically a evil global cabal. That is the only reason you would put this woman in charge of it, because she's maybe the only person that would know how to run such a thing. But if we're actually going to still pretend like this is America, and we still have the Constitution, and we're still going to have a country, and it's still going to be some semblance of normalcy, you would want anybody but this woman as president. You can't sit here and honestly say women, I'm talking to you now, that just because this woman knows how to wear pantsuits and has 30 years experience doing so, and she has a vagina, we got to put her in as president. This country has over 300 million people. At least half of those are women. We can't find someone else, anyone else, to be the first woman president. You want a first woman president so badly, you're going to go with Hillary? Really? And it's as if you're just completely ignoring the last 40 years of American history having to do with her as a person. I cannot even imagine how people, do you go and get the sticker and then think about it as you're placing it on the car? Horrifying. It's horrifying that people would put stickers like this on their car. I feel like when I see a person driving around with a sticker like this on their car, I should follow them in my car to make sure they don't drive into oncoming traffic or drive off a cliff or something, because obviously they're suicidal if they're putting that stuff on their car. It makes me worry about their mental state. You know, those things are really hard to get off. It's almost kind of permanent. Why don't you just get Hillary for president tattooed on your forehead too? I mean, you're walking around advertising to the world that you've given up on yourself and America.
Lies, lies, lies.
It was supposed to be an example of Hillary Clinton's battle-tested experience. The memories seemed etched in Clinton's mind.
I remember landing under sniper fire. There was supposed to be some kind of a greeting ceremony at the airport, but instead we just ran with our heads down to get into the vehicles.
Problem is, that's not what happened. And these are the pictures we recorded of the greeting ceremony when the plane landed.
Lies, lies, lies.
We came out of the White House not only dead broke, but in debt.
Lies.
Violence directed at American embassies over an awful internet video.
Lies. Lies. Lies.
What difference at this point does it make?
Lies. Lies. Lies.
The fact that I even have to make a video to say why people should not be doing this is sad to me. But anyway,